Hello, thank you for joining me to learn about how to take collaboration to the next level using cloud whiteboarding in EZWrite. The first thing we'll do is open EZWrite. Once you have your lesson resources available, collaborative whiteboarding really enhances everything you're doing here on the board and brings in the student participation. You can access cloud whiteboarding by tapping on the little person icon with the plus sign. And then it's going to give you some options here. You'll notice that you have a Start Cloud Whiteboard, Start Google Classroom, or Join Cloud Whiteboard. If you are not a Google Classroom user, you use a different LMS such as Schoology, Canvas, one of those other resources, you will just tap Start Cloud Whiteboard. This is going to create a cloud session that will take everything in your whiteboard and it will put it on the screen of anybody who joins the cloud whiteboard. In this case, you'll see that you have an easy to access QR code. This is perfect for students with iPads and Chromebooks. They can quickly scan the QR code and they're able to join this cloud whiteboard from their device. Another thing too is you'll notice that there is a link right here. This link never changes. So one thing that's really helpful is grabbing this link and dropping it in your classroom for whatever LMS you use. You can take that link, drop it into your online environment, and now students can click on that link and the only thing they need is now this room ID. Once they join with the room ID, it's going to give them the option to type in their name. Once they're inside the cloud whiteboard, they're now looking at everything on my screen in live time. When I flip through to the next page, it's going to flip through to the next page on the student computer or the participant's computer as well. Everything I do in live time is going to show up directly on their screen. As the teacher controls, down here you now have an icon that has a person with 3 lines. This is going to show you the participants that are now in the room. This will list all of your student names. You'll notice here that I have one person in my classroom. My pencil is blue. The student pencil is gray. That's because it defaults the participants to view only. Now maybe throughout my lesson I want them to collaborate, I want them to have editing rights, but at the beginning it will default them to view only. You'll also notice that I have an icon down here that says disable editing for all, because at some point maybe I'm going to allow all of my students to participate in this lesson, but then I want to turn everybody's options off at one time. You can just tap that icon. The student view of the classroom, they have a little icon. It looks like the same, similar. They have a little person and they can actually raise their hand. This is great because I can see right away if somebody has a question. So now there's a little red button, a little red bubble that has the number 1 because one person has their hand raised. And now it shows up here in my participant list that this person has raised their hand and they have a question. This is also great for just an easy poll because that red bubble will tell you the total number of students who have their hand raised. So it's a great way to grab a quick formative assessment, see how many people want to vote one way or another. So it gives you kind of a lot of options there. So now whenever I'm going through my lesson, even when I'm writing, so when I switch over to my pencil tool and maybe I want to identify a certain few words that I want my students to be sure to include in their descriptive writing, as I'm making these edits on my screen, it is now editing and showing up in live time on the student's screen. Not only does this allow for easy collaboration, but even just accessibility, students being able to see my screen from their computer, especially for those students that maybe sit in the back of the room, this just really gets everybody, captures their attention and gets them engaged in the learning. So now, if I want my students to participate, I can pop back over to my participant list and I'm actually going to turn on my participants edit feature. So now their pencil is blue. And so now maybe I want my student in the room to grab the pen tool, and they're going to select a color, and they're going to circle some of the words that they're going to use in their descriptive writing. So my examples were written in pink, and then my student examples are now showing up written in green. So you can see I'm not making those edits, but now my students in the classroom are able to show me what they're going to do from their computer. When I was a former teacher, I used to have classroom jobs, and especially when we did group projects, I had every group, they all had different roles and responsibilities. This is a perfect option to have one person in the group, especially for those primary grade levels. To have one person in the group is your cloud whiteboard editor, to kind of maintain that collaboration, everyone's getting involved, but you only maybe have 5 or 6 people editing at one time instead of all 25 or 30 students in your classroom. So now that my student has made their edits, they've shown me the words that they're going to be using, I can easily come back to my participant list, and I'm now going to turn that pencil screen off because I don't necessarily need them editing anymore as I go through and provide additional examples and materials. One thing that's also great here is the students are editing in live time, right? So what I'm doing on my screen is showing up on all my student devices. What they're doing on theirs is showing up on every device connected, including my own, as you just saw a few minutes ago. But one thing that's especially great is when I end this cloud whiteboard session, it's going to close the cloud whiteboard room. But what it's not going to do is close it for all of the students. So now I've ended the live session. No more edits are happening on my screen, but my students are able to continue editing, and now they're editing their own copy. So this is perfect for when we went through and did this brainstorming activity together as I was doing the guided practice, but now I want them working on their own independently. They still have their copy of the whiteboard lesson that they can edit and annotate on their own device, and now it's only editing theirs, and it's no longer showing live feedback to me or to everyone else in the room. Now, it did still keep my previous annotations, so you'll see here I still have my annotations as well as my students. So anything that was done while we were on the cloud whiteboard session is still all there. But the difference is that now students have the option to continue editing their own copy, and then they can save that to their computer, and now they can easily upload that assignment to our LMS for me to grade later. If you're a Google Classroom user, there are a couple additional resources that you have access to when using cloud whiteboarding with Google Classroom. So again, to start a cloud whiteboard session, you tap on the person icon with the plus and wait for the options to show up. You will select Start Google Classroom. If you've never logged into your Google account on the BenQ Board, it is going to prompt you to log in. If you've already logged in, you'll see here it's going to bring up your account, and you select the account that you will be using for Google Classroom. It's then going to give you your list of Google Classrooms. I know many of you have several Google Classrooms in your list. Me, I only have one. So I'm going to select my Google Classroom that I would like to start this cloud whiteboard session in. So then it will create the join code. Again, you used Google Classroom, so you actually don't need to utilize this. This is mainly for maybe you have a student in the classroom that isn't in your Google Classroom. I know a lot of times you get a student, it's their first day of school or their second day of school, and they just haven't been synced in yet, and maybe they can just borrow a different device. So you have access to have students who are not in your Google Classroom join the same classroom, but you don't necessarily need this right now for your Google Classroom. You'll notice here in the participant list, it's going to bring in all of your students. They do not need to type in their name because it syncs with that Google Classroom roster. So it will show you all of the students in your class, and then it will show you how many of them are in the Google Classroom. So right now you can see I have 3 students and 0 of them are online at the moment. As soon as my students join, it will then show online. Now, for students to join this process, you've started your Google Classroom here. You'll actually click on your room ID to get back to this screen, and you're going to announce it. This announcement is going to post the live link directly into your Google Classroom. So when I tap publish, it's going to now go directly into my Google Classroom, and my students can quickly go to that stream, click the link, and then they're going to be able to join into the Google Classroom. Another resource that is available for Google Classroom, aside from being able to just quickly share that link and have students join, you also have access to your Google Classroom assignments. So when you click on the Import Media option, I'm going to click on the Google Classroom icon. This is now going to show me all of the assignments that currently exist in that Google Classroom. This is awesome for when you want to kind of bring in a resource. So right here I've got a link and I have a PDF in that assignment. So if I want to bring in the link, I can click on the link and do import, and it's now going to bring in that link directly into my lesson. This is going to pop out into my lesson resource. You also have access to multiple types of assignments. So when I have like a homework lesson that has multiple slides in it, it's actually going to open this resource. This resource has 11 slides in it. So I can actually go through and look at all of the pages and all of the slides while on my cloud whiteboard. And this is everything that the students are seeing as well. So their view, they're looking at everything that I'm viewing. So for those times where you have the multi-page assignments, you've got resources that you want to access and you want to be able to show off a couple things at one time, you have the easy option of importing that resource from the assignment. And now you can use both the assignment resources here. So again, you've got 16 pages here. I can easily go through here. So maybe I want my students to come up and they're going to use the pen tools, and now they're going to draft their resources over here. So it really just takes all those lesson resources, puts them all together, and you can use multiple things at one time to really enhance that student participation and collaboration. Again, in your student participation list, it's really easy to come in here and turn off and on the edit tools depending on how much you want students to collaborate within your cloud whiteboard. Hopefully you learned a few tips and tricks on enhancing that cloud whiteboard and collaboration feature in your classroom. Thanks for joining.